All right, welcome everyone to another episode of our Wellness Advocate podcast interviews. Today it's the fourth one. I can't believe we're already at four. Wow. Today we have the amazing Jazmin Patterson, good friend of mine. I was thinking of how I could introduce how I know Jazmin, and like the thing that came to my mind literally was just she is the light in my social media. Like she's
Aw.
always the sunshine and something that makes me happy and uplifts me or is just so genuine that it touches me. So that's how I kind of describe you. But please introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? All those
You're
things.
so sweet. You're gonna make me cry. Like 10
That's
seconds
okay.
in. So
That's
I'm
okay.
Jazmin Patterson. I'm 25, almost 26. I'm a Sagittarius. I live in Central Illinois. I've been in Illinois my entire life. I am married. We have 3 dogs and a cat. I am a wife, a sister, a daughter, a cousin, an aunt, like all the things. And I work a super non-glamorous job as a planner scheduler at a manufacturing facility. So I get to help technicians put machines down so they can fix them. So, and I get to order parts. It's the best thing ever. It's not, it's actually um, super boring, but I find joy in it because it pays my bills. And then on the side, I am actually starting a photography business right now. And I started painting pots because I am obsessed with indoor plants, actually all plants ever. So I started taking commission and making pieces specifically for people based on what they want. So that has been an amazing outlet for me recently because I have to keep my job, obviously, to pay the bills, but having something to keep my mind busy, or my hands busy, and so my mind can relax has been really good. Also, knowing that I'm creating something specifically for one person, it's just great. So that's me. That's what I do in my
Hmm.
free time and my not free time.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that because that's also part of the light. That's my news feed is your plants and your new pots.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Jazmin, the reason I wanted you on here is because I've seen you be super vulnerable with strangers, and talk about some really difficult struggles you've been through, but yet you have this just most uplifting, beautiful personality and light to everyone else. And that's why I kind of wanted to title it Journey to the Light. And, as much as you're willing to share, how, like, what experiences did you have and how did you get here? Because for a lot of people that have been through some dark or tough things, it seems impossible to have anything different.
Yeah, no, I was so excited whenever you messaged me. At first, I was like, oh crap. I was like, wait, okay, like, all right, cool, I can do this. I can totally do this. Like, I have my angelite crystal right now with me. I'm just holding on to it. And I had to take a nap before this because I was texting you. Because, yeah, like, I. I've always been this very happy person. I've always tried to be positive, and not be pessimistic, even though I'd be surrounded by it and stuff like that. But there are moments where I have to recharge or like I freak out and I go, a lot of people do believe that people can't be happy all the time, regardless of their circumstances. If they have horrible circumstances, they're like, you're fake happy. You can't have all
Mm-hmm.
these friends. You can't be that happy. And it's like, no, like genuinely, what is the purpose of being so upset all the time? So yeah, I've been through a lot, and I know a lot of people have been through a lot. I'm actually in my adulthood and like uncovering things recently. A lot of memories have come up that I have suppressed. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's been rather difficult going through childhood things as an adult, but being able to finally put them to rest and like understanding who I am as a person, and then also maintaining like positivity, like choosing to be happy about the things regardless of what has happened. So um, from a very young age, so my parents were great for a little bit there. I've got an older brother, a twin sister, and a little brother. And things were great until I was about maybe 9. And my little brother was 2, and my older brother was 11. So we had 11, 2 9-year olds, and then a 2-year old. And there a lot of things happened from that point up until even today. As you know, like my father is on hospice. He came home on hospice this past week due to alcoholism. And so up until about 9, both of my parents were like rock stars. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
they had ish going on in their lives. They made really bad decisions, but they still put us first. And they did a very good job at hiding everything that they were doing that they may not, they should not have been doing. But then things just started crumbling. I remember being in an apartment complex, and I just remember my older brother Chucky, he was like, we all need to go into the bedroom, we have to go into the bedroom, and grabbing my toddler brother, and we were in there for hours, and all I saw were like ambulance ambulance lights and sirens, and then a coroner showed up, and like my dad was getting high with someone in our living room, and he OD'd and died in our living room. And like
Wow.
at that time, exactly, I did not know that was happening. And so then as we progressed and like I got older and older, still not knowing that these things are happening, my poor older brother, like he knows everything. He's always known
Mm-hmm.
everything. Um, and then my younger brother didn't have the experience of a good father because he was 2. And so a whole bunch of stuff happened. We moved a lot. We went to different schools a lot. My mom ended up basically like leaving us, and I love her, and she knows. I told her, I'm like, I'm gonna write a book, Mom, and it's not gonna paint you in the brightest light. And she's like, I know, honey. Like, she's amazing now. Like, she's the best mom, she's the best grandma, but there were years there where it was rough. It was super rough. But she practically left us, and dad was gone at this point. He had left us, and my mom went and moved out of the house that we had memories in, because it was too rough for her to live in this house where this man had left her. And so she left. She was bartending, and she moved in to an apartment above a bar, like towns away from us. And there, I remember there was one window in the whole apartment, and I'm like, it just felt like this closed in box. Like, she was drinking every night. Like, here she's saying that my dad is an alcoholic, and I'm like, but you are also an
Mm-hmm.
alcoholic, right? So it's like we have one guy, my dad, who left knowing he had issues. His dad had issues. His dad died of alcoholism. Like, we watched it all. Like, I knew this was going to happen. And then my mom saying your dad is such an alcoholic, but not saying that she also, exactly,
In
yeah, so yeah.
between sets.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was really rough dealing with someone who is in denial, and then someone who blatantly is like, I'm an alcoholic and I'm leaving. And so I moved in with my grandparents. My other siblings, they stayed with my mom for a while, and they'd bounce back and forth between my grandparents and my mom's house. But I moved out when I was 13 in with my grandparents, and I never went back. I was like, I can't do this. There are too many things. Like, my mind cannot handle this. And so I
Yeah.
dipped out. I was like, see ya. So I moved in with my mom's parents. They are, well, they've both passed away since, but they were living angels on this earth. Like, when I tell you living angels, like pure positivity, love, like just all love and light. And honestly, without them, without my grandma, like I would not have, you would not have seen this love and light for me all the time. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be asking me to do this podcast because it was my grandma. She would tell me over and over again. She's like, mind over matter, mind over matter. I don't care what is going on in your life right now. Where can your mind go? And she's always mind over matter, mind over matter. And she never worked a day in her life. She raised 7 kids. My grandpa worked for Caterpillar for 30 years, and then he was my school bus driver. And so they were just like, they were together for 58 years, like unbelievable, right?
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of things happened. And then into adolescence, even when I was living with them, I started dating someone that was way too old for me, and trigger warning, but he took advantage of me for 4 years, when I did not know like that's what was happening. But my bedroom was above my grandparents' bedroom, and a 14, 15-year-old girl is not going to cry down to the grandparents and say, first of all, I'm not supposed to be doing this, and second of all, it's embarrassing, third of all, is my boyfriend, so he couldn't be doing this thing to me, right? When no, actually he was. So that was one of those memories that I had suppressed. I put in this cute little box in my brain with a whole bunch of other things, the coroner, the OD, all of that in a box. And then slowly the past couple of years, like someone will say one thing and it'll come up. And I'm just like, it's like a flashback. I'm like, whoa. And although I've always been like this positive person, I think a lot of it in my teenage years was forced. Like, I think that it was forced. And I went back and looked through my yearbook a couple of weeks ago, actually, because my sister asked me when we graduated. I'm like, I know the month and the year, but you need to know the exact date. She's like, yes. I'm like, well, just Google it. And then I Googled it, whatever, a whole story, came up with the yearbook. And I was looking through and it's like, there were so many pictures of me. And I looked at that girl and I'm like, you were so happy and so many things were happening. Like, I was in dance, I was in flags, I did fall play, I did musicals, and I always kept myself busy. And I think looking back now that I was forcing myself to be this positive person, hoping that my parents would just show up one day. Like, I remember my mom calling me when I was at a dance competition. I was sitting in the bleachers and I'm like, oh my gosh, my mom's calling, and I answered and I'm like, we're going on in like an hour. And she's like, Jazzy, I just don't feel good. And I had known she was out partying the night before. So it was such a bummer. But then I got out there and I danced and everything was fine. So I think a lot of it was forced. And going into adulthood, now it has been an active decision and choice, because I always think of my grandma going, mind over matter, mind over matter. These things happen to you. Kids have rough childhoods. Worse things happen to other people. It's all in the past, and we can learn from them and we can grow from them. And if they're not healed, then they'll come back up for you to heal them. But it's been crazy. And I love that you think I'm like, I'm love and light. And I do share a lot. I like to write a lot. And that's where the vulnerability usually comes from. Putting words together in a communication style like this is sometimes really tough for me. I had to I had to sit here with my crystals and I'm like my oils, and I'm like, please help me form full sentences. Like,
it worked.
Yeah, right. But writing, when I start writing, when I feel like I need to get something out, I never know what's going to come out. And then it does. And I'm like, somebody needs this right now. I am like, and then I go, well, that was really selfish of me because I needed it. And I'm like, no, I needed it. And somebody else needs it too. Just with my dad going into hospice this week, I've had so many acquaintances and friends message me saying that they dealt with the same thing with their father or their mother. And I'm like, I never would have known. There are so many strong, beautiful humans on this planet that you would never known have gone through so much. It's amazing.
Oh, ain't that the truth, right?
Yeah.
And so you're validating for so many people. And it's interesting listening to you. You know, as you said, like your grandparents and how they were pure angels, it just came to me like, oh, yeah, that's where she got it. It was just channeled through her.
Yeah.
But also it's interesting listening to you talk about it, because there's a fine line between like denial and toxic positivity.
Yes.
So how do you think, you know, like, and at that point it's trauma response to your body is just trying to protect itself. So that's what it does, is distract and avoid and stay busy, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you kind of like come to terms now with that balance of like being toxically positive and not, yeah.
Yeah. So I, through this journey of finding myself and figuring out what feels good, I know, I know when there's a fake smile and I know when there's a real smile, and I know when it feels gross. Like,
Yeah.
and I think people are very smart and people can read energy very well. And I have people in my life who will call me out on it. They're like, dude, what's up? Like, they're like, what are you going through right now? And I'm like, what? Who's going through what? And I know that I like in the past, so it happens a lot, that I just put a mask on because I don't want to deal with things. Like internally, I don't want to deal with it. I've spent so much of my life not dealing with it. Why do I have to deal with it right now? And so I don't want to use the word force, but I practically force myself to come to terms that if something comes up, I'm not going to push it back down. It's been pushed down for so long. So I will go for walks. And I used to I used to listen to podcasts while I was on a walk, and I'm like, this is defeating the entire purpose, because now I'm just keeping my mind busy. So now I will put on music, if anything, and it'll be music with, that's mostly just instrumental, or it'll be like a meditation type of music. So it could like make me force like force myself to actually go through the thoughts that I'm having. Like you'll see me just walking down the street and sometimes I'm crying and I'm just like, whatever, hey strangers, how you doing? Like I'm going through some ish right now. So figuring out when I have those moments of, yeah, no, something is wrong and I can't be fake happy right now, then I force myself to work through it, because my trauma response for so long has been to shove it in that box. And the box is full. I have no room. I have no room. I don't want to carry it. And as hard as it is to go through it, I found that once I've really dealt with something, it rarely comes back up. And if it does come back up, it's not as strong, and I don't have as much work to do on it, quote work. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It absolutely did. And I'm thinking, trauma. So, one of the famous lines is trauma is buried alive in the body. It's not buried dead. So
I've
I'm
never heard that,
imagining
but
like,
that's amazing. Yeah.
so amazing. So I'm going to do a little pivot here, but amazing book recommendation. If you've never read it and our listeners haven't read it, talking about trauma in the body, is Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score. So I'm pretty sure it was Bessel that said that. But yeah, our trauma is not buried alive in the body. That's why it keeps coming back in these startle responses or hypervigilance or the flashbacks, the memories. Yeah. Oh gosh, I could go on a tangent for days about that. So you alluded a little bit to it about like walking and photography and painting and all of these things that you do for mindfulness. But also then that goes to my question about how do you self-care? Because a lot of times I feel like when I'm meeting with people and I say, hey, what do you do for self-care? They're like, I mean, do you mean like exercise? And I don't mean that to be rude. That's what it is, because our culture doesn't teach prevention and wellness and self-care, right? So a lot of what I do is educating on like it's psychological, it's spiritual, it's social, it's environmental, it's financial. How do you self-care in all those areas? So how do you, and did you know that from an early start, other than like the self-talk and mindset? Did you incorporate other self-care, or did that come later?
So I've always been spiritual. Always from day one. My grandmother was too. So really just that mindfulness, that force mind over matter kind of mantra. But as an adult, I always wanted to practice mindfulness and self-care and all that. And so I would draw the bath and I would sit there and I'm like, why am I in here? I don't like taking a bath. Like, what am I actually doing right now? Or get the self-help books and I'd start reading them and I'm like, no, I like listening to books while I'm doing something. I don't like to sit here and read. It hurts my neck, it hurts my back. And so to anybody listening, self-care and mindfulness can be whatever your definition is of it. And I love that it's coming to the space of people sharing about self-care and mindfulness. And you may have seen this, but like people sometimes force things that they think other people are doing. And you know what? Do it. If that's where you're starting from, do it. Because that's what I did. And I realized I'm like, I literally have never liked taking baths. I like, if you enjoy taking baths, that's good. But I just get so bored. I'm like, I'm sitting in a hot thing of water. What am I doing right now? And so yeah, I do practice self-care. That whole tangent is to say, everyone's is different.
Well, Jazmin, hold on. You made an amazing point, because I agree. I recommend meditation as a mindfulness tool for people. And a lot of times they'll come back and be like, I can't do it. That's not for me. And they feel defeated. And I'm like, well, wait, there's more. Like, we don't have to just sit and listen to a guided meditation. You can use your senses while you're walking in nature and feel the breeze and right? So I love that you pointed that out. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how do you self-care?
So I do meditation sometimes, but like you just mentioned, most of the time I'm meditating. I don't tell myself I'm meditating, and I'm walking. Because I have to be doing something with these hands all the time. I have to be doing something with these hands. So sitting there, I do have moments where I can just sit and meditate, and those are moments when I'm already feeling no anxiety or less anxiety, and I know that I can be in that space. But I found that if I've ever tried to force it, all I feel the entire time is anxiety. If you go into the space with that feeling and you can't separate it, sometimes it's just,
Gotta
it's
move it
bigger.
out.
Exactly.
I've been telling my husband the past few days, I'm like, baby, you want to dance? Let's shake it out, right? Like, you got to get that funky, and you said you're spiritual, you got to get that funky energy out of your chakras. Like, get it out of there.
Yes. Yes. So I do like to walk a lot. Sometimes I just drive if I'm not feeling like walking. There's something about my car. It's probably not anything about my car at all. Just any vehicle, sitting in a vehicle and just driving for me is just, I feel like I'm in a different dimension, like a new portal. And so if I'm really feeling like a walk isn't doing it, then I go for a drive. I also have a schedule for my plants because I'm obsessed with my plants. I got like 3 plants a few years ago, and now I have over 70. And I feel like it's going to double next year, if not triple. And Kevin's going to freak out, my husband. But I have a schedule. Sunday and Wednesday are plant care days. And why I put them on those days is because Sunday is the day before I have to go back to work. And so I like having those quiet moments, like checking the soil, checking the leaves. Like, it's so silly, but it makes me
mindful.
happy. Yeah. And then Wednesdays, there's less care involved, but it's the middle of the week. I just need to get through the rest of the week. And so that's kind of like it's the same time. So those are about the only things that I really do actively that I label as that. I can't think of anything else that I do. I do like to journal sometimes. I've tried daily journaling and it feels like a chore to me. So I don't do that. I do it when I feel called to it.
Again, another pivot.
Exactly.
For
Yes.
people, if I assign journaling, they think they have to write in a diary and write narratives. And I'm like, literally just carry a journal everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
Be vulnerable. Just leave notebooks everywhere.
Yeah.
And when you have a thought, just grab it and I don't care. It might turn into beautiful poetry. You never know.
Yeah.
Or it could be bullet points. It could be chicken scratch. Just get it out of here.
Yeah. My notes on my phone are packed and I have a notebook in my backpack all the time. But as for like a scheduled self-care mindfulness, it's really just walks, drives, and plants.
And I heard crystals and oils.
Oh yeah, crystals and oils.
And breathing.
Yeah, napping sometimes, but I'm the worst nap taker ever, so.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I think you made a good point too, is that not only do you need to pivot the activity if it doesn't work for you, but sometimes you need to go to 1, 2, 3 activities before your body says, okay, we're okay.
Yeah.
Like you said, if I try to walk and that doesn't work, I'll go for a drive and then maybe you journal.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that is really important because I used to just, I tried to journal. And if journal wasn't it for me that moment, I would just get angry. And then it would just be even worse. And then I'd do nothing. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just angry today. Like, no, ma'am. Next. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Jazmin, any last thoughts that you want to share with our listeners? Because I think I've gone through all of my bullets other than, where they can find you. But is there anything else that you really want to make sure people hear, to kind of encourage them through their own journeys to that light?
Yeah, I just, reach out to people if you're feeling some type of way. I share everything on social media, basically, and nobody has to do that at all. There are some things I keep private, but do what feels right in your gut for yourself based on who you are as a person. Even if you don't know who you are as a person yet, we always know what those feelings are if something feels good or if it feels icky. So just stay true to yourself. You don't have to fit into any mold ever. And if positivity doesn't feel like it's for you right now, that's okay. That's okay. I've been so sad this week, and that's okay. And I've had to talk myself through it. Like, you are going through something right now. It's okay to be sad, So that's really all I got.
Yeah, just like validate that, like, it's not possible to be positive all the time, right? And like, you're going to let your feelings visit And you're not going to say, oh, I feel really sad because, my dad's on hospice. No, it's fine, right? That's the toxic
Yes,
positivity. So,
absolutely.
okay. So if people want that love and light in their timelines and newsfeed, where can they find you? And I'll also include links.
Yeah, I'm mostly just on Instagram. I am on Facebook, but I am mostly on Instagram at Jazmin Faith, JazminFayeth. And that's the spot. That's the hot spot.
Yeah, and people can ask for commission. Do you have your link there if they want a pot?
Yeah, everything's in there right now. Yeah.
Yes. So like beautiful terracotta pots with any amazing artistic design you want from Jazmin. We're going to get a sunflower pot sent to Ohio.
Yay.
You don't know that, but I'm going to order that.
Yay.
Well, thank you, Jazmin, for being here. It's always good to see your smile. And thanks, guys, for listening. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss our next episodes. Next week, Jazmin, we have our good friend, Kira, talking about mindset. So it's a perfect addition to what we just talked about.
Absolutely. Guys, she's going to light your pants on fire. So
be ready. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.